Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm, part 63, Aliens and UFOs. Haven't made a formal science video in a while, so I figure I might as well do that. I got some good talking points. We're going to be going through anything that jumped out in my head about... I watched the entire Lex Fridman and Gary Nolan conversation, which is on Lex Fridman's podcast number 262, titled Aliens and UFOs. So again, we've talked about that good amount in this series and pretty much every single day, but in Gary Nolan, clearly they're censoring their own language, but we'll go through the things that are interesting. The first thing, Gary Nolan is a biologist, and is I think specifically a pathologist. And I just have that's not a good person to have investigating, not because, or again I don't know if he's investigating, he has some material or investigating something, but if you can't answer the physics questions that we know, then we'll also talk a little bit at random logical derivation at the end as well. But we'll get to parts in the conversation you just ask completely nonsense questions, and so there'll be a lot of aliens and UFOs, but also just commenting on human behavior. But a biologist, again, remember physics and chemistry, then biology. And so if you don't understand physics, you can't really understand the base of what even biology is. So it's not a good start. But further they start talking about DNA and memory. And I have what differentiates a species, form and function. Again, we referenced the form and function in the last language video. But genotype is your base and phenotype is your range. Literally your base pairs of the deoxyribonucleic acid, and then phenotype is all of the anatomical changes that is stored in that memory. So they had some interesting points again just about the total memory capacity of DNA versus hardware and computers. Which obviously biological memory is a lot more extensive than technological memory, certainly without any questions whatsoever. Don't need aliens for that. Think of all the people on this planet that live that you don't know what they were thinking on a given Tuesday. It's that. So biological memory is a lot broader than physical memory. Well, it's one and the same, but technological memory. But what differentiates a species, again, really is stimulated by the environment, right? We have sharks on our planet. We use prove the rate of reactions are the same, but genetically they haven't really evolved much in 100 million, 200 million years. So really, it's the environment that's going to stimulate a change in your anatomy and your genetic memory from there. But then they talk about how would a civilization deteriorate. Again, I think Gary Nelson and Lex Fridman, we're not sure aliens exist, even though we definitely are. But they talk about how many civilizations would have come into existence and gone out of existence and why. And they talk about maximum accomplishment, basically just doing what you can do to the absolute maximum extent, and just being like, well, maybe we shouldn't reproduce anymore. I disregard that entirely. That would never occur, because there's always, again, the amount of range that is not known, that is unknown, that is to be discovered, that is to be experienced, is tremendous. Again, innumerate. Shout out Heather Hanning, but incalculable. And even I wouldn't even know how to structure that limit right now off the top of my head. Versus population decrease, versus environment. Again, population decrease would be because of environment, and really I think any civilization deterioration would be because of the environment. Just strictly, you're on a planet, the sun's going to consume this planet in a couple billion years, so there's no chance you can have a civilization there at that point in time. So I really think it's just environment dependent. You'd start talking about, and then population decrease, it would be more of a plateau. Using my French slang, trait, it would just level off. And interesting, in French, égalité, liberté, égalité. It's kind of a weird accent for French, but also means deuce, right? But it means equal. It means equality, most literally in the dictionary. But it was also interesting, right? In English, deuce, tennis, deuce, deuce, even. Deuces, by. So something interesting logically that I came across in the past couple weeks. Was the Zimbabwe school children an imposed hallucination? No, it was an alien visitation. Hallucination, the word in general, does not exist. When people say they take psychedelics and they were hallucinating, nope. Then I just have immediately, I wrote down, was Zimbabwe small or tall gray? In my own personal intuition, there's certainly a differentiation between small and tall, again, just anatomically. And again, grays, reptilians, amphibians, those are just words, again, to indicate the overall awareness in the species, and what I call disconnected awareness, right? 30,000 years ago, there's some tribe over here of human hunter-gatherers, or even a large human being civilization. So some alien encounter happens over there, and then the human species dies off. The alien was here for a trip and he's gone the other way. So there's no direct awareness. It's all hearsay. It's all word of mouth. So when I'm saying like reptilian or amphibian or these different differentiations, it's just whatever English word matches the anatomical or biological difference that would be remembered in mythology, in rumors, or in truth. And so it's really just looking for big, large scale, and again, the awareness of that interaction would persist through our species. So you can have things that aren't mythology, but are just represented as mythology because there's just no one alive to remember it. And again, once you get out of your little pea brain mindset, again, the entire alien conversation to me is nothing different than turning on the Discovery Channel and seeing how we treat animals. Sometimes we help them, we just want them to do their own thing. I'm not exactly sure of the motivations. Again, I really think they live here, some of them in a small population. I really think they have spaceships that go really fucking fast. I think they have really big spaceships. So where would be the bulk of the alien species? I have a question mark, and it's a yes or no. It's a location. It's here or there. And so don't know on stuff like that. But again, the differentiation of the words reptilian, amphibian, gray family is more of just whatever English word would represent some sort of sentiment change or awareness throughout our entire history. And so that's really all that's going on there. But I thought, with that being said, I thought from my own intuition that the Zimbabwe was a tall gray meeting, and it looks like it was a small gray from their conversation. But they talk about the kids, again, we've talked about this encounter, but the kids' stories did not change over the years, even ones that did not say it vocally. But they said they got a message, you are not taking care of your planet. And again, they're talking, telepathic communication. I strictly disregard it, and I'm pretty sure I know what's going on entirely. And so, right, in the same way, if you're in a group of human beings, there's one sentiment, like everyone's following the conversation in the general. And so, right, you can have someone, like in a conversation, say something really tone deaf or really, really mean or intolerant of somebody else, and you can see the visceral reaction of somebody else, and those same words that are popping into your head are popping into their head. So it's more of, again, modifying the presence of sentiment in a given group, with the caveat or with the exception, there could be some, again, just species that are more tuned to it, or just have really, really profound sensitive receivers. In mind reading, no, just categorically disregard. Still have to broadcast a signal regardless. Brain-to-brain communication, maybe with technology, maybe naturally, biologically, human beings, no. But again, it really just depends on the environment and why and how they would be, because many or most, I think most speak, or at least many do. Certainly there would be limits on vocalization. I mean, the sounds are the sounds regardless of any species. But the vocalization would have limits itself. It would not be hard for any alien to speak English or any other language. But like our own definition, what alien is a native organism, intelligent organism from another planet. So by our own definition, we're alien to any other planet out there, any other solar system. So to be specific, our own planet, the solar system, then the galaxy, then intergalaxy, or intergalactic. Because if anyone out there can hear me when I'm outside, which clearly said we can, it's not like I hear them, or it's not like a two-way communication, it's just me broadcasting a fucking signal. And so, nothing about the communication really surprises me, and it's certainly not telepathic in the well-accepted meaning of that word. And then they say, how would a higher intelligence present itself to a lower intelligence? And I just have higher and lower in quotation. Reaction times are the same. There would be no, there's not a higher intelligence. It's not like there's a really smart, way smarter than human species in the solar system, then way smarter in the galaxy, then way smarter in other galaxies. It's just maybe some technology, maybe some vocalization, more history, but not like more intelligent. Just disregard that entirely. And then they talk about gods versus spirits versus technology versus then I have versus speciality. Basically, Gary Nolan's saying, this more intelligent species or intelligence would present itself as gods or as spirits or as technology. Nope, disconnected awareness. Some event happens at this point in time that becomes mythology, that becomes a story, gets passed on, but the actual event it's not verifiable, but it's still true in experiencing the sentiment. The way I honestly like to think about alien interactions in general, I hate being at this fucking apartment. I just can't record when I want to. It's just fucking insane. But it's like to me it's like a married couple. Like someone's saying they don't have sex, and maybe they don't. But a married couple in a healthy relationship having sex all the time. Would that couple give a fuck if some Joe on the internet or some random dude on the street didn't think they have sex? Would it bother them at all? No. So it's just like stuff that happens that other people don't believe or talk about. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. And at the species sentiment level for aliens, that's really how the awareness gets passed on. But gods versus spirits versus technology, again, when I'm talking about Gary Nolan being a biologist or pathologist, God as a human being was a person, an individual scientist. Gods, like the Greek gods, would still be human beings, just exalted in higher human society. Spirits don't exist. Ghosts don't exist. But he talks about present themselves as technology. Again, now we just get into complete Looney Tune land. Complete nonsense. Absolute fucking nonsense. This is what I'm talking about. A biologist can't ask meaningful questions about physics. Then we talking about Havana syndrome at all? Or again, which is interesting, the high beams of energy. Again, alien technology would not interact with our biological function in any noticeable way. But I just have random, not all cases, another thought stuck in my head because I talked about it in my language one, saying that I was interested in seeing most of them had underlying conditions. I once again saw in the news, not all cases have been pre-existing conditions for Havana syndrome. And I don't care if you make my buzzy microwave buzz, I don't care. I just don't fucking care. I'm going to start talking about the basal ganglia. Does the basal ganglia enable quote-unquote new communication methods? Categorically, it could be very confidence interval 85 to 95%. Fuck no. But he talks about, again, having it's found in savants about, again, just maybe some more neural connectivity or just maybe not identifying what the thing does. But again, this is actually a real experiment that could be proven without even me knowing it right now. Again, I thought I had some brain disease in senior year of high school. I went and got MRIs, thinking that might have something been wrong. And I actually knew the neurologist who did the MRIs as a person in our community's friend of a friend type of deal. And I remember word for word he said to me, there's nothing abnormal on your scan, but there is a little extra white stuff or something. So if that's legitimate, these are scans from 10 years ago. You guys can look them up. I don't have access to them, nor do I know how to read an MRI scan. But and I think I would qualify towards the savant type of intelligence spectrum. But my 85 to 95% confident there's no new communication methods. There's just sensitive receivers and ability to filter information more precisely. In the same way we have to resolve our stars when we're doing mass spectroscopy in the fucking figuring out who has helium and hydrogen in the atmosphere. It would just be literally that. So I'd be mind-fucked if there's actually new communication methods. But again, it's producing expectation, like sensing tension in the room, which we just talked about. And they talk about a story about a family taking a picture of a UFO that didn't register on the photo, and he said he's seen the picture, but I've not seen this case. But just like cell phone screen protectors for privacy, right? You can buy a cell phone screen, or if someone's looking over your shoulder, you can't see what's on the screen just based on basic polarity of the fucking filter. And so that to me, that's low-level technological advancement, just taking a picture of something that doesn't register. That seems to be left and right. Then he says, and I quote, the so-called Greys, and then I just have, again, before he even finishes the sentence, versus the locals, and then, quote, I don't believe in the Greys, and Nolan. Or that was Nolan. Again, you can't say what you don't know, and again, the word Grey, the Grey family, stuff like that, it's just an indication of a major anatomical difference throughout the species. And I have communication and confirmation that that's just at least 2. My personal intuition says there's 3. If anybody in the ice is a part of the Greys, or from Jupiter, or less hairy apes, more smooth-skinned, small, and smalls can go a lot of different fucking ways. But you can't say stuff you don't know and you don't believe in evidence, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know what to say. But then he follows it up with the exact quote, I would be perfectly happy if it was all a hoax. I bet you would, Gary Nolan. You work at Stanford, you have 20 to 30 people in your lab, you get paid a good amount of money, you get to go on podcasts, as long as you can just keep scooting through life. And again, I keep reiterating that it's like this Discovery Channel, because the most things I want anyone to take away from this video is any weird resistance to aliens existing is literally human sexuality and weirdness. Like, that's actually where any weird things come from. Aliens, again, they would be much more playful, they'd much be more childlike, they'd be much more disciplined entirely in general at the species level, they'd be stronger individuals and stronger cohesive group team members. And so, Gary Nolan, I'm glad, I bet you in your selfish little pea-brain mind would be perfectly happy if it was all a hoax. But imagine if you're me. I'm a human being. I don't, when it comes to aliens coming into my literal house, here's what I care about. If you can come into my house, drop off my money at least. Like, you can turn on the miso silos like a light switch, drop off some worthless human dollars or some chunks of rock worth lots of worthless human dollars. That's what I want, is my money. I don't give a fuck about aliens that much. So, well, that statement makes me absolutely furious. Again, this academia has done more damage in every aspect of scientific discovery, literature, or research than anybody in previous history, in human history ever. And then, again, disconnected awareness and facts, we just talked about that. Mythology, storytelling, numerous independent civilizations, meaning, again, all the aliens would not know one another, all trying to get history, all trying to see it. Again, for me personally, again, the interest at the species level would be the technological development of nuclear weapons. Again, they've been here, again, I would, not that I expect the government to be able to answer the questions, but again, I really suspect there's ones that are here, because if there's ones that can walk down the street without being noticed, the anatomical changes have been negligible. But there's also the possibility that we could have, like, solar system doppelgangers. Like, even if it's, a species 3 billion years away, or 3 billion years older, or 3 million years older, and the environmental conditions are about the same, and they have the same lineage, it would be the same type, like, it would be indistinguishable. So a lot of open questions there, but there's certainly numerous independent civilizations, and at least 2 here. My intuition says 3. Again, based off of sentiment that I'm aware of, and paired to major anatomical changes. But then he says, this is what I'm talking about, you can't even, like, forget aliens. If I went into a physics class and said this next statement, he says, what if we could move like that? Momentumless movement. Momentumless movement does not exist. It is impossible. Momentum causes movement. And so now we just take a biologist, put him into the context of talking about UFOs and aliens, and he just says random dumb shit that makes no sense. Physics, that has nothing to do with aliens at all. And then I just have, you don't have the material. Someone directly told me that. You don't have the material to link up to the fucking magnetic fields and shit. And I really just think it's a galactic forge. Like, there's just the material is probably prevalent, but it just gets forged somewhere. Like, just like galactic forge, like a quasar, or a blazar, or super kablitsar. They just temperature and pressure conditions where you can forge different things. I do think cold fusion is possible to, maybe, confidence interval that it's a galactic forge at 80%. Why are aliens visiting us? Again, I'm seriously suspect that they live here. Some of them do. They get a small portion of population. Again, because we're not that interesting. and I wouldn't want to commute to work every day. So again, if the spaceships fly fast enough, or if they just, they come here in a spaceship and just float around in the spaceship somewhere else, there's just so many open questions I can't give strong answers on. But certainly the difference between the planet, the solar system, the galaxy, and the intergalactic interactions. And then Nolan says we are not looking at legged organisms here. Yes, mostly we are, certainly. Again, I'll put that at 95 to 99% confidence interval, that most of them will have appendages, legs, or even tentacles, right? But he talks about like the gray family being the grays that he doesn't believe in, might being, showing humans what they could be. Again, being hairless or being smaller or taller. Again, I'm very confident there's small ones like, again, dwarves, elves, again, through mythology, but, hairy, primitive primates. Again, I think the grays are primates as well, but again, what anatomical changes really indicate age really could be different, could vary quite a bit. But visiting, again, a variety of reasons, local history, picking up on sentiment, again, when I say things or when anybody says things in the sentiment, picking up, again, these little pieces of evidence to see where this disconnected awareness went. And just history, their own lineage, their own history, interest, stuff we've said in the past videos. But yes, we are looking at legged organisms mostly. I'd be very, very, very surprised if there's any non-appendaged sentient organisms. Very surprised. Are aliens unified? Quotes, no. Like, fuck no. Yeah, absolutely, just no. Groupthink and spooks and goofs, that's where that question comes from. Again, from, they say it like it might not be, they think there might be more than one civilization. Again, we human beings are still in like the groupthink phase. We don't really separate ourselves that much. These people would 100% be stronger individuals and 100% be stronger teammates. How hard, then they ask the question, how hard would it be for aliens to communicate with humans? There'd be a spectrum, but not because they're more intelligent. I'd be certain that aliens could, again, sounds the basis of language. I've proved that in hilarious fashion. But it would not be hard. It becomes a physical question. If you have a mouth, if you have an orifice that you can force sounds through, you can certainly pick up any language. In the same way, right, we have beatboxing, right? That's making sounds of inanimate objects. So it's not going to be hard to structure vowels and consonants and verbs and stuff for any language. Like I said, language learning is not hard. But there would be, again, vocalization limits based on mass, and then even if there's ones that don't really like communicate, if they actually do communicate, brain to brain with some either technological enhancement or just it developed like a sense, right? Just like we have, a defense mechanism or just some way to communicate. I really do think it would require some sort of technology. If it doesn't, sensitive receivers. If it doesn't, then they themselves are the sensitive receivers. But they would still have to have like agreement, right? I call this a marker, you call this a marker, so it's a marker. They would still have to have some solidified sounds that mean certain things. So again, I really 99% confidence interval. There's certainly communication, and that communication would require agreement, and that agreement would be based in physical reality, and you would need sound to represent that. So I really think maybe light-to-light communication, maybe. But again, that's a yes or no that I can't answer. The first thing you reach for is God. Nolan. No. Again, for fuck's sake. I can't make you guys learn the shit I have already proven. God as a human being was one individual scientist. That is what happened. And now we use the concept of God, this really smart, all-knowing being, which wasn't even him, which isn't me, which isn't anybody. The first thing you reach for God in explanation. Again, that's the range of ontology. That's the range of logic that you understand. But when he starts talking about angels and devils, again, for the biological difference of wings, right? That's not alien. We have butterflies, we have flies, we have a bunch of things, birds, a bunch of things with wings. So the anatomical difference of wings for an angel, again, maybe just small-statured, small-looking, proportional humans with wings. I mean, like, it's not like a big... It's not, there's no mythology in there, and devils don't have wings, right? Devil is more of the natural opposite of the conceptual God, and angels, right? Michael is a fallen angel, and that could just be human shit, that could not be human shit. But I don't think devils are the natural opposite of angels. even conceptually or mythologically. But then he starts talking about the Delphi oracles. Again, he's just jumping around from God to Delphi to, again, Brad's a polymath, and we all watch Brad's lecture, so now we're all going to act like we know this shit. We're just going to throw out some buzzwords. For those who don't know, the Delphic oracles, or Delphi, is pretty much in ancient Greek. They all had oracles that could communicate with the dead. Nobody can communicate with the dead. You can't communicate with spirits. You're just aware of sentiment and you're trying to reason. But Delphi was pretty much like the high oracle of the ancient Greek society. It was held in higher esteem than other prophecies. They talk about the Atacama skeleton versus real alien skeletons. And again, the material with pure ratios of magnesium, the stuff that the government has is in orbit or in actual secure locations. But there could be other ratios or other, there's certainly other like examples out there just in nature, just not found or not identified. Ratios of magnesium, but again, it's a relevant talking point, just release the shit you already know, world governments. And then he says, and then talk, what if there was technology, not just material, to convince? Again, a piece of material is not convincing of origin. How about aliens coming into my fucking house? How about aliens coming into your houses, or at least government official houses? How about, technologically, don't you remember when I told you literally how to contact fucking aliens with visual proof? Like, bona fide? That I just don't want to demonstrate because somebody else did the experiment first? At some point, human beings, we have to accept the world that is right in front of you. I can show you back to 2017 right off the top of my head. What if we need to, again, off the, like a science magazine, I went into Barnes & Noble one day and I was just sitting there on the rack. What if what we need to communicate with intelligent civilizations is in everybody's hands? A vibrating plate, anything that produces frequency in liquid water. That's all you need. And then you need eyeballs and a camera. And not to be stagnated and in complete scientific denial. I don't give a fuck about one Atomica skeleton as anything big or useful. And there was certainly technological proof literally all over the internet. And then they said, Nolan says, maybe they don't look at us as individuals, they look at us as an organism, completely and biologically false. Again, I just have fuck no. Again, I'm the guy that proved infinite biological uniqueness. Any more progressed civilization would view every individual as an individual. There'll be stronger individuals and stronger team members. Please, try to stop stealing my research and then just throwing it up wrong. Please try. Scientists, Nolan says, scientists are essentially capitalists. And I do this in real time as I watch the shit, verifiably, ... or parasites. And then there's a little exchange between Lex and Nolan, and then Nolan says, we only go where the money is what I meant. So yeah, parasites. And then he says, yes, there is hardware in possession by the government. He believes so. There certainly is. And then I just have, what is gained or to be lost by full disclosure and amnesty? Again, full disclosure to me will affect just like the husband and wife that doesn't care if you think they fuck or not. I don't really care about your full disclosure. The thing that would help me is, again, just knowing exactly what the government knows so I can differentiate my own personal sentiment versus, again, just other things that I'm aware of. So, again, personally, it's absolutely, literally torture on my own, as a human being, just trying to identify myself in this species. But again, I don't care about sending you people to jail. Your legacy is destroying scientific progress for 60 years. And in the next lifetime, you're going to see all the people that you fucking hurt doing so. So they'll deal with you then. But then he talks about, again, unlimited energy. It, again, just does not exist. Start talking about UFOs and aliens, and then all the physics we already know just doesn't count anymore or something. He says he does not believe Bob Lazar because of my friends. And that's paraphrased. I do. I believe Bob Lazar's story. And then Lex says, if Bob believes his own story. Okay, a quick refresh on Bob Lazar's story. He researched inside, the government had a spacecraft of the equilateral engine configuration, and he was inside of it. So it's either he's lying or he's not lying. It's not believe his own story. I mean, it's like, did I get abducted, did I not get abducted, versus, yeah, I was in a spaceship being owned by the government. It's either direct lie, there's no belief in there, and I believe his story is completely valid. And so, but again, we see Nolan, who's be completely fine if this was all a hoax, sitting around with his friends, doubting it, Bob Lazar. And then he says, to finish the last statement of the conversation, but inevitably, he says, inevitably this topic comes up at dinner, meaning aliens and UFOs. And I have, because of awareness, because the sentiment of the species is 100% aware aliens have existed the entire time human beings have existed. The whole time. The whole fucking time. And so, that's because, but here right, the Fermi paradox, the great filter, the great Brad filter. You guys aren't going to exist in this fucking world of excitement, and he uses, curiosity and intrigue and stuff. This is what I'm talking about. When you guys are stagnate society for 20 years, you are out of this fucking scientific process. As long as I'm alive. Be the change you want to be in the world. I don't want people that behave like this to participate in shit like this. But it's because everyone's aware that it's already real. So that's kind of what's going on there. So now, just some random, that was the end of the conversation. Now just some random logical analysis. So last thing, in formal logical derivation, I just wanted to, I've been exploring the difference in the relationship of variables and unknowns. Variables can change and unknowns can change, right? We have known knowns. Is there a gavel and a wood block on my lap? Yep, I know it's there. It's known. It's there. You have known unknowns. How big is the galaxy? How big is the solar system? Or how big is the observable universe? Right? Known, unknown. What's out there? How many species are out there? Unknown unknowns. And so, can we make variables an element of which set? Known knowns, known unknowns, unknown unknowns. Right? Variables can change. Known knowns can't change. Known unknowns do change once, but once they become known knowns, then they don't change anymore. Unknown unknowns, those can change, right? If you become aware of something that you didn't know, now you're aware of it. But what's more comprehensive, variables or knowns or unknowns, or what's the relationship? I don't know. Literally just this was the most poignant logical thought that I've had in the past, I don't know, month or two, since whenever I made the last formal science video. Again, sensorality, just random derivations, just keep going, right? What's a census is a count of population. Consensus is sentiment. So sensorality is the difference, is how we went with an S, is how we went from rhythm to algorithm. Inanimate objects don't write algorithms. They do not. That is true. Are you going to write an algorithm wood block? No, he's not. He's not going to do that. So I don't know. Variables, can we classify variables as elements of any complete set? Homework assignment. I don't really give out homework, but there you go. I'm the only one that's going to answer properly. So there you go. Aliens and UFOs responding to Lex Friedman number 262, From Rhythm to Algorithm, part 63. I hope I'm alive to see the day that I get human rights. I really doubt I will.